The Wunderwaffe DG-2. If you're a fan of zombies, you probably know all about this weapon. It was created by Group 935, powered by Element 115, shoots chain lightning and kills multiple zombies with an unlimited damage output. But one thing I can never find is how much this thing would weigh. It looks like this big clunky object that'd make it kind of difficult to run away from hordes of zombies. There are some videos out there that explain the origin of this weapon and how it would work if it were in real life, but one thing I could never find is how heavy it is. So, to the best of my abilities, I conducted some studies. I'm specifically looking at the World at War version of the Wunderwaffe. Now, I'm no scientist, but I'll tell you what I did. The first test I did was take every weapon in the game available to me and see how long their sprint duration was. I wanted to do it this way because the way first-person shooters make a sense of scale for certain objects is how fast you can run with them. For example, you run much slower and way less distance with a big heavy machine gun versus a sidearm. To avoid any terrain or any objects getting in my way while sprinting with these weapons, I no-clipped up to the invisible ceiling on Derice. From there, I would sprint forward with each weapon and time how long it would take from them to start sprinting to when they'd stop. What I found was surprising to me, but also made a lot of sense. Similar weapons seem to have similar weights, in that they would be in some kind of grouping, which makes sense for balancing of the game. Handguns are in one section, rifles are in another section, submachine guns are in another section, and so on. But even if you knew this ahead of time, the Wunderwaffe is a fictional weapon, so where would it go? The results I got were completely random and not what I thought was going to happen. There were only 2 weapons in the game that had the same exact speed as the Wunderwaffe, and those were the FG-42 and the M1 Garand. But specifically, the M1 Garand with the grenade launcher equipment. I have no idea why they're different speeds, but they were. Another thing I noticed is that some of the guns go way less distance than the other guns. So to check this and also double check my work, I did a test to check the speed from point to point, not worrying about sprint duration. Starting with the character's back to the wall and sprinting into this barrel, I did the times for the 3 guns again, and sure enough, they were still exactly the same. So to finish off the test, I checked the guns' real-life weight, which were actually similar as well, with the FG-42 weighing about 9.3 pounds, and the M1 Garand weighing about 9.5, oddly similar. However, the version of the M1 Garand that had the same speed as the Wunderwaffe had the grenade attached to it. Looking at the weights for the grenade launcher attachment for the M1 Garand in real life, the attachment is about half a pound, and the grenade is on average 1.5 pounds. So using the data from this test shows that the Wunderwaffe is about 10 pounds. But there is one problem. This is only in-game speeds that are made artificially in order to balance the game out. So how much would it weigh actually? Well, I conducted another test that would probably be more closer to what it would actually weigh in real life. Remember that I'm not a scientist, so if anybody disagrees with this data, please prove me wrong. I'd like to actually know the answer. What I first did was try to figure out the actual size the Wunderwaffe would be in real life. The way I could achieve that is by seeing somebody holding it, and the best way I could see that is finding out that these people have actually tried to make replicas in real life. Using this nice 3D model that I found online, and footage of the real-life model that this person made, I used his hand for scale and tried to measure all of the objects that are on the Wunderwaffe. From there, I had to figure out what the Wunderwaffe is made out of. The material that I could guess on first is walnut wood for the foregrip and the stock, and a lighter gauge steel for the metal parts of the weapon. Common materials used on weapons in World War II. However, the Wunderwaffe is a complex device and would require more thought for the rest of it. In some circles, and according to this video on how the Wunderwaffe works by the Schuckmeister, the Wunderwaffe would work similarly to a Tesla coil.
Okay, make sure it's on low.
In fact, even in the game's file, the gun is referred to as the Tesla gun. When looking at how Tesla coils work, it's safe to say that the Wunderwaffe has a bit of copper on it, which would explain the coloring on the outside of the gun. So with my list of materials, I had to do some math. Without actually having a replica of the Wunderwaffe in my hands, I had to do my best with the measurements I got from the picture and the models, and then use the weight of these materials per square inch and measure it back into each part of the Wunderwaffe. So before I reveal the weight that I found, there's one thing I have to talk about. Element 115, or Moscovium. Now there's a few issues with Element 115. First of all, in real life, it's very unstable, and I'm not exactly sure how tangible it would be in order to get a measurement. The one measurement I could find is that it weighs 13.5 grams per cubic centimeter. Even with that measurement, I have no clue how much 115 it would actually take to power the Wunderwaffe. So, even without 115, the grand total for this weapon would be roughly 18 pounds. Certainly more than the in-game weight that we found earlier, and just about as heavy as the BAR in real life. So, what did this prove? Well, nothing really. I just think the Wunderwaffe is super cool, and how much it weighed was the one thing I didn't have to help me imagine what it'd be like to have it in real life. Hopefully you found it just as interesting as I did. If anybody has better methods to get these weights, please let me know in the comments, or make your own videos about it. Thanks for watching.